What's up YouTube, Diabellze here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you an update to White Forest Azamina. Now this is all post of the brand new support that they received in the most recent set of Alliance Insight, and trust me, the new support is absolutely insane. It gives you the aggression of the Azamina support and then the Diabellze support, alongside the consistency with a little bit more of White Forest support as well. This does not involve the fiendsmith. I just kind of prefer this particular version to the fiendsmith. I do feel that it has a lot more ceiling to it, and it also has a lot more kind of intricate pieces, and it is really kind of fun to play. I took it to my local today. I didn't do so great with it. I ended up going 2 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss, but I felt that the loss and the draw was just in general because they hit time, and that was for me just not understanding or knowing some of the new cards outright, but it's something I've learned a little bit more and kind of adapted from there. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. I'm going to dive headfirst into the profile, show you what we've got, show you the demo side deck as well, and give you as much information as possible. So for the White Forest monsters, we are now on Diabellze alongside Sylvie. I really wish that this one got the super rare upgrade in OTS rather than the Yugioh, but you know, that's kind of the way the cookie crumbles. 1 Yugioh, and then as that counts as an Azamina and a White Forest, we are on the 2 LZs. Now, as you'll see, we're not playing any Estellas. That is for the pure fact that your ideal starter will, of course, be your Sylvie, as this can lead you to 1 of 2 cards, and that can be the brand new Witch of the White Forest or the good old-fashioned Tales of the White Forest. So you should all know what the White Forest cards do themselves, but I'll talk you through them just in case you don't. So your LZ of the White Forest lets you send a spell or trap from the hand or field to the graveyard to special summon it, and then you add a White Forest monster from the deck to the hand, which will ideally going to be adding your Sylvie. Sylvie on normal or special lets you add a White Forest spell or trap from the deck to the hand, and that's going to work you into, as I've mentioned, Witch or of course Tales, both of which can lead you to the LZ Azamina, and the LZ Azamina lets you reveal it in the hand to special summon a White Forest or an Azamina monster from the hand, and during the main phase, or your main phase specifically, you get to fusion summon an Azamina fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from the hand or field. If this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you add a Sinful Spoils card from your deck to the hand. The Yugioh is basically if you control a White Forest monster, you get to special summon it, and then you can also send a spell or trap to the grave and then draw 1 card. It does have the same graveyard effect as your Sylvie, that if you have a White Forest synchro monster in your graveyard, you can return it to the extra deck as a quick effect and then bring this card back to the field. We'll go over Tales first. So Tales requires you to control an illusion or a spellcaster to then add a White Forest monster from the deck to the hand. Now the benefit of LZ Azamina of the White Forest is it is technically an Azamina and a White Forest card, so that's when you're going to get the benefit of both. And then the brand new card we are playing is 2 Witch of the White Forest. Now one very important thing to remember about this card is when it's activated, you get to add a White Forest monster from the deck to the hand, but you cannot special summon dark monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn. So something like that will shut you out of your Azamina plays, which means, as you'll see throughout a couple of combos, is you search out the Witch of the White Forest very early, and then you basically hold it back, so you keep doing all your Azamina dark plays, and then you'll activate this as like one of your later stage cards to kind of help you push a little bit more. Another benefit of this card is the first time each of your White Forest monsters you control would be destroyed by battle, each turn it is not destroyed. You get to target a White Forest monster you control, and it can be treated as a tuner this turn. You can only use each effect once per turn, and you can only activate 1 Witch of the White Forest per turn. So the benefit of something like this is if you wanted to, you can actually wall up with the other Diabellze, because this Diabellze means all monsters you control can't be destroyed by card effect, and then with the Witch, your White Forest can't be destroyed by battle as well, so you can just wall up and be very defensive. For the Azamina cards, I'm playing the 1 Queen Azamina. There's a couple of times where it came up today as a bit of a brick, but then it also came up as a couple of times today where it's a nice little extender. So it's one of them ones that is hit and miss. Honestly, I wouldn't feel so disappointed if I was to cut it out. The benefit of a card like this is it is always treated as a Sinful Spoils card, which does come up a couple of times with cards that are either trying to put them back into the deck or cards that say send a Sinful Spoils card. More times than not, you're only going to get the most benefit off of the back of this when you're sending it with Diabellze. So that's something you might want to consider. It's definitely a card that I would consider cutting, but it really does come down to preference. Then for the other Azamina cards, you do play the 1 Azamina Diabellze and the 1 Hollowed Azamina. So both of these are your fusion spell. The Hollowed Azamina is ideally the better one, as it lets you reveal an Azamina fusion in your extra deck, and every 4 levels it has, rounded down, you send a Sinful Spoil card from your hand or field to the graveyard. If it's face down, you reveal it, and then you get to special summon the revealed monster, and it is treated as a fusion summon. If it's in the graveyard, you get to target an Azamina monster you control or in your graveyard and shuffle it into the deck, and if you do, add this card back to the hand. Your Diabellze is a quick effect or quick play spell card. During the main phase, reveal an Azamina fusion monster from your extra deck, and for every 4 levels rounded down, send the Sinful Spoil cards from the hand and or field to the graveyard. If face down, reveal it. Special summon the reveal monster is treated as a fusion summon. During your main phase, you can banish this card from the graveyard to target an Azamina monster in your graveyard and special summon it. You can only use one effect per turn. So this is kind of a really cool card. I like the fact that it's a quick effect. The benefit you get off the Hallowed Azamina is the fact that you can kind of recycle it in the same turn, whereas the Diabellze is mainly want to be there as a set card to be utilised during your opponent's turn more times than not. For the Sinful Spoils cards, we are on triple wanted. One of the Sinful Spoils of the White Forest and one Deception. So I really like this card. Again, I wish this one was a foil, but I'm quite happy with it being a common and then maybe an upgrade in the future. But if you control a Fiend, Illusion, or Spellcaster monster, you activate one of these effects. Special summon a Fiend, Illusion, or Spellcaster from the hand, or Fusion summon a Fusion monster from your extra deck using monster from the hand or field as material. If it's sent to the graveyard to activate a monster effect, you get to set it. The benefit of something like this is it will give you the access to make your Guardian Chimera, which is why people are playing that in the extra deck. And it is a very, very nice interruption because Guardian Chimera can then ideally end up popping 1, drawing 2, or drawing 1 and popping 2. So it can be very disruptive. For the Diabellze cards, of course, we are playing the one Diabellze the Black Witch, then one of the brand new White Witch, and one of the brand new Vengeance. I absolutely love these cards. I love this card more than this card right now, but this card is still really, really kind of cool, so don't take anything away from it. Vengeance is also treated as a Sinful Spoils card, whereas the White Witch is always treated as a White Forest card, so again, additional benefits throughout the deck. You can banish one spell and one trap from your hand and or graveyard to special summon this card from the hand or grave. Quick effect, pay half your life points, then target one card your opponent controls and destroy it. Then if another Diabellze monster is on the field, you get to special summon a tuner, synchro monster, illusion, or spellcaster from your extra deck. The benefit is, or more times than not, what you're going to be going for will be your Sylvia, because this will then allow you to kind of Book of Eclipse your opponent's side of the field. The Diabellze, the White Witch. This card is always treated as a White Forest as previously mentioned, but monsters you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, while you control 2 or more Diabellze monsters, which by the time you have this, you'll also have this on the field as well. You can use each of the following effects once per turn. You get to send a spell or trap from your hand or field to the graveyard to special summon this card from the hand. If this card is normal or special, you get to send a Sinful Spoils or Diabellze card from the deck to the grave. So for the Diabellze card, you might want to send this, and then the other Diabellze card, you might also want to consider sending Curse of the Diabellze. So if you control 2 or more Diabellze monsters, send one monster you control to the graveyard to destroy all face-up cards your opponent controls. If this card is sent to the graveyard or banished from the hand or deck, you get to add one Diabellze spell or trap from the deck to your hand, except itself. So that can be very, very useful because you can send it off of the back of the White Witch, get yourself a nice little search. Then the last Diabellze card is the filler Diabellze. So add a level 8 or higher Diabellze monster from the deck to the hand, so obviously search out any of your Diabellze that you want. Or if only your opponent controls a monster, you get to special summon it instead. If it is banished, you can make all Diabellze monsters you currently control gain 500 attack. You can only use each effect once per turn. And then for the non-engine cards like the hand traps and everything else, I went with triple Mulchomi Floros, one Effect Veiler because it's searchable in the deck, and then I decided to go with 2 Sales Ban. Now this came up once or twice. The reason that I decided to main it is with your White Forest cards, you want those additional spells and traps that you can send, which is why I kind of like the idea of a Sales Ban. It's also one of the ones that I found out firsthand in my game that I drew, is my opponent opened up 2 draws, and I went, okay, cool, activate a card, they went draw. And then I went, all right, cool, survived that turn, went back to my turn, activate a card, search, and they went draw. And I was like, bruh, really? So there's times I was like, I really wish I had Sales Ban to call it and then lock that down. And that's mainly what this is in here for, is only if you lose to a very specific hand trap. Now what I mean by that is the card that you're probably going to lose to more times than not will be Droll. Another option would be Nibiru, and they're one of the ones where you can't play through it, and it's something you need to kind of preemptively decide. I don't know what else you'd want this to be. The only other thing that I would consider it being, but I would honestly take out, and I'll quickly jump ahead to this, the other card that I was testing around with in the main deck was Evenly Matched. This only came up once where it was good as a field breaker, but I would honestly consider putting Black Goat that last back into the deck, because I just like the fact that it's a trap card in the graveyard that when you send it, you get advantage off of it, and it being in the graveyard, it can be advantage, and if they do trigger off your Trill Tactics Thrust, again, it can still be a very nice, interactive, disruptive card. So I like the Evenly Match when it did come up, because there's times where it's like, okay, cool, go second, they weren't prepared for it, Evenly Match hit them. There was a game where I couldn't evenly, or I had evenly, but then I had 2 monsters on the field. I was like, all right, well, this would be a waste. And then there was another time where I went first, saw it in my open hand. I was like, right, we've got to get rid of it. It's still good as being that spell or trap that can be sent, but I'd much rather this be something like maybe Black Goat the last, or maybe Sales Ban be Black Goat the last, just to give you that like balance between the two. Obviously on 2 Triple Tactics Thrust, 1 Triple Tactic Talents, and then the final hand trap of Triple Infinite Impermanence. You'll notice that there are no Ash monsters in the deck. That was just a risk that I decided to take because I wanted this deck to have the most impactful cards. Like, you don't really want to be seeing monster hand traps in your hand when you're trying to combo. And the idea is that if I can complete my Diabellze combo or my White Forest combo, the board's going to be pretty difficult to break. So I was like, well, I want to minimize the chances of that. I want to maximize the traps that can be utilized as hand traps and, of course, interactions with my opponent and field breakers rather than trying to time a hand trap. And I feel that Flourish is one of them, the best hand trap right now to pretty much drop on an opponent and they'll either take the challenge or they'll pass their turn. And you're like, okay, well, that's kind of what I want either way. Moving on to the extra deck, we'll start off with the synchro. So, of course, for the White Forest synchro, it's pretty standard on this one. You got the one Silvera, you got the one Rusilia, and then, of course, you got the one Diabellze Queen. Then the classic Chaos Angel, and then 2 of the brand new cards, 1 Poplar of the White Forest, and 1 Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon. I actually use this quite a lot, and I really like it, and I'll talk about that in a second. With the Poplar, I never made it, but there are times where I could see it being quite useful. So if this card is special summoned, you get to target 2 White Forest monsters and in your graveyard and place them face out in the owner's spell and trap zones as continuous spells. During your opponent's main phase, you get to quick effect immediately after the effect resolves synchro summon using this card you control. You can use each effect once per turn. Really cool effect. I would love it to allow you to use the White Forest monsters you put into your spell and trap zone. That would be really cool. But the idea of being able to utilize this is a quick effect synchro. What you're trying to do is you're trying to then use this to go into your Vengeance Dragon. And this is a generic level 12, so I'm actually tempted to be putting this into other decks, maybe like Centurions. So during your main phase, you get to target a face-up monster on the field or in either graveyard, place it in the spell and trap zone as a continuous spell. So you can either give yourself resource for your White Forest cards, or you're just going to be able to give your put some of your opponent's cards back into their spell and trap zones. But you can't use the effect the next turn. During the battle phase, quick effect, you get to target 1 monster and 1 continuous spell on the field, destroy them. You can only use each effect once per turn. So I just really like the idea of going, cool, effect, push it into the spell and trap zone, effect, put it in the spell and trap zone. It's really quite effective. Because you're playing the 1 Vengeance, you can actually play the Snake-Eyed Doom Dragon, because this requires a Snake Eyes monster and an Illusion monster. And the benefit of something like this is it can also be special summoned by sending 2 face-up monster cards from your spell and trap zones to the graveyard. If this card is special summoned, you get to target a face-up monster on the field, place it face-up in its own spell and trap zone as a continuous spell card. Then we also have the Azamina fusion monsters. So you've got the 1 Sylvia, sorry. Then, of course, you've got the 1 Rusiliago. And then we do play the 1 Saint Azamina. And because we're playing Saint Azamina, you can play the 1 Mo Regina. And then we also play the brand new Azamina. So this one requires Queen Azamina and then a fusion or synchro monster. And it must either be fusion summoned or specialed from the extra deck by tributing Saint Azamina you control and a face-up monster your opponent controls. Can't be destroyed by card effects, and each time your opponent activates a card or effect, all monsters they control lose 500 attack when they resolve. Your opponent cannot activate the effects of monsters with 0 attack, and this is a 4K defender. Now, I never actually summoned any of this. That was purely mainly down to inexperience of like the routes to go through, or the best routes to go through Saint Azamina, because the idea is what you want to do is you want to go Saint Azamina, work your way into this, and then the benefit is of going second, if you do make Saint Azamina, you tribute off one of your opponent's monsters and go into this. And then the final fusion monster is your Guardian Chimera, backed up by 2 link monsters in the form of Cross Sheep and SP Little Knight. There was a time where I felt that I missed a Typhon, and I really wish I had put it in, but then the Typhon would have been the space of the SP Little Knight, so it was between the 2 of those. Either or can really be taken. Cross Sheep is actually really good in this deck, and one thing that a lot of people do learn with this one is that Cross Sheep will trigger when you special summon to a zone it points to. So if I special summon a synchro monster to Cross Sheep's zone that it points to, and I already point it to a fusion monster, I trigger the effect to get the fusion revive and the synchro attack buff. If I just have it pointed to a fusion monster and I special summon any effect monster or any monster to a zone that Cross Sheep points to, it can still trigger because it points to a fusion to then bring back another from the grave, which can be quite useful for recycling your Sylvies from the main deck, which will then give you more access to your White Forest spells and traps. So that's it for the main deck and the extra deck. Now to show you the side deck. So Malice Hate in the form of triple Artifact Lancia, and of course the 1 Artifact Sanctum. Generic Hate in the form of Drown Lockbird. Never put it in, but there was something that I wanted to kind of trial out alongside Drown Lockbird, and that was Deck Lockdown. Purely for the fact that, again, it's a spell that I can get rid of whenever I want to. And it's one of the ones that I can also recycle if I needed to. And it was if I go first, I can see Deck Lockdown, activate it at the end of my turn, and that might cause them more issues than me holding on to a Drown Lockbird. Never came up, never saw it, so didn't make much of a difference. Third Sail's ban if I really wanted to lean into it, but never put it in. 1 Duster, 1 Lightning Storm, and then finally triple Book of Eclipse. Book of Eclipse put in a bit of work when I wanted it to. I do quite like this. I feel it's one of them ones that it's not so good going second against Malice deck or most of the high level decks because they're all just going to be link monsters. But if you're going first against them and you can Book of Eclipse their monsters, it means they can't link it off, they can't get it to the graveyard, they can't then use it as bestial fodder, banish fodder, you name it, and it means they have to move into more of their cards, and then that's when your Diabellze and everything else can come and play, like Vengeance, to clear the field off or just make sure that they don't get the flip and draw, or you can use it as a last chance saloon. They're going to attack the game, you Book of Eclipse them because no one's expecting it, and then you're able to kind of push through and do what you need to do. So that's pretty much it for the entire profile. I still feel there's a bit of testing to be done with the deck. I'm not completely set and sold on the way that it is, but I do enjoy it and I do like what it can do. It's one that I didn't play last format as much when people were on the like Azamina, Crystron, Cash kind of hybrids. So I was kind of waiting for the new support. Once the new support came here, I was like, yeah, all right, I'm up to testing this out, giving it a go, seeing how it can work. And yeah, I want to see how it develops. I do love the lore and the story behind this and how everything evolves and changes. And, you know, I really do like the kind of thought behind this one. So I'm excited to see and do a bit more testing with it, get it to where it can go and work from there. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you do have any questions at all, by all means, please put in the comments down below. I will be more than happy to answer them. For now, as absolutely always, stay safe and, of course, happy dueling.